Of course, I choose to film on the warmest day at the end of September. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing the would I still buy this palette sort of tag thing. I'm inspired by Battybean. I saw her do this and I was like, yo, I'm gonna try that, because I have so many eyeshadow palettes that like I haven't reached for in so long, so I thought I would go through and tell you guys the palettes that I would purchase today and palettes that I wouldn't purchase. So let's just get right into it before I sweat my makeup off. The first palette that we have is the Sugar Pill Fun Size palette. This was, I think, the first Sugar Pill eyeshadow that I ever used, and I'm really in love with this formula. I used this palette a few months back and I'm still in love with it. I love it just as much as I did before. I would definitely repurchase this palette. It's just such a versatile palette. It's got those bright shades, but they're pastel-y brights, and then you have like your pinks, your red, you know, you got all of that in there. I totally forgot there was like a red in here. I should have used that today for my look, but totally forgot. My favorite shade in this palette is definitely Twitch, which is the green in this palette. I'm in love with that shade. I use it literally anytime I do a green look. Usually I will want to use this. It's just such a pretty color, and I did use it in the look I did a few months ago before I got sick. The next palette that, wow, I cannot speak today. The next palette that we have is the Stormy Kylie Cosmetics palette. So this, let's hope that corner shade doesn't break again. That corner shade breaks all the freaking time. But honestly, this palette is really stunning. I'm in love with it. I've loved it since I bought it. Like that, I typically do not like the Kylie Cosmetics formula, but this palette was different for me. Like, it blended beautifully. It was pigmented. The shimmers were gorgeous. I really liked how this performed, so I would repurchase this. Although I don't really like Kylie Cosmetics products typically. Like, there are some that are good, but usually I'd rather spend my money on indie brands. But this is a palette that I would repurchase just because of the color story, like, to me, is relatively unique to my collection. So I would definitely repurchase that. Moving on, we have the Lethal. One day I will be able to speak properly, I promise. Next, we have the Lethal Cosmetics After Dark palette. Okay, let's just get into this palette. So this palette is stunning and gorgeous, and I love it, and I am happy that I have it in my collection. That being said, these are available individually, so would I rebuy the palette? No, but would I rebuy the individual shades that I like from this palette? Yes. We will talk about those individual shades. So basically, the only shades that I do not like in this palette are like the shimmers. The shimmers in these palettes are fine. They're good metallics, but they're not my favorite. So like, I don't feel the need for them. I would much rather just have the mattes. That being said, I would like to try their multi-chrome formula eventually. But for this palette, I have to say that no, I wouldn't repurchase it, but I would repurchase the individual shades that I am in love with. We're gonna stick with Lethal Cosmetics. We have the Lethal is Dead palette. Now, if y'all haven't seen, Teresa is coming out with another collab with them. I can't afford it and I just want to cry, but it's beautiful. Now, between that color story and this color story, I wish that I had that color story over this. This is just a palette that I don't reach for enough in my collection, which I really need to. If my cat's fur could not be on it, like, hello. But this is just so pretty. I'm really, really happy with this palette, but it's just not a palette that I reach for because of the color story. It's more, I guess, grungier than what I typically go for. That being said, I am sweating so bad. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. Like, I'm not even kidding, but whatever. We're going with it. Yeah, so I'm a grease pig apparently. That's great. But I do really like this, and since it's fall, I'm gonna probably be dipping into this more, but I would much rather have that palette, so I would repurchase this, but if I had to choose between the new palette and this one, I would pick the new one because of the bright shades. Next, we have the Nikkie Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette. Now, this is a palette that, like, took the internet by storm. It was stunning, it was gorgeous, the packaging is gorgeous, And then, you know, it just kind of, it was limited edition, but it stayed around for a long time, which is good because I was able to get my hands on it. But, you know, this is what the palette looks like. It is just a stunning palette, and I would 100% repurchase this. Like, it's one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I just love the bright shades. The shimmers are honestly really amazing. I feel like Beauty Bay is like really stepping up their shimmer game as well. I really want to see them come out with multi-chrome eyeshadows, but I digress. This is a beautiful palette, and I'm so glad I have it in my collection, and I would 100% repurchase it. Lastly, we have the Glamlight Cake palette, and I'm not sure how I feel about this palette. I love all my Glamlight palettes, but I love all my other ones more. So would I repurchase this? Let's look at the color story. It's bright, so you would think that, Tasha, of course you would repurchase this. But honestly, I don't think I would, because I would rather buy other palettes and not have this in my collection than have this in my collection and not be able to buy other palettes. So this is a palette also that I don't reach for because of the color selection. Like, don't get me wrong, it is beautiful, and there are shades in here that I do love, like cinnamon, banana, guava. Like, all these shades are beautiful. It's just not a palette that I reach for, and I prefer my other Glamlight palettes more, so I would not repurchase this palette. Let me know down below if you guys would like to see me do more of these, because I have so many palettes, and I literally just like picked random palettes from my collection to talk about. So if you want me to keep doing these, let me know. Again, inspiration from Battybean. Like, she is a legend on here in my opinion, so love it. I really want her Halloween palette, but you know, gotta wait for money, so love that for me. I mean, obviously I can't even like touch up my roots, of course. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any videos you'd like to see me do. Go follow my Instagram and TikTok, Makeup by Tasha XO, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Effie, that's enough of that attitude. I'm watching you. Effie, those cat ears aren't for you. They're from ColourPop. You can't take them. No, go away. You too. Go away. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to keep these hidden from them. Stop that. Stop it.